Well, we've got the word. After 5 seasons, Star Trek Strange New Worlds will come to an end. Yes, it is official. It's from Paramount. The 5th season, for which Strange New Worlds has just been renewed, is going to be the last season. I'll get into a couple of things now in a second. I'm going to say from the jump, I'm not very surprised. I think in the current era of streaming with Star Trek, 5 seasons, Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Lower Decks, I think that seems to be the ceiling. Picard, if you'll recall, was always a 3-season deal, and Prodigy, bless its little cotton socks, dealt with so much from the jump. Honestly, I still feel very lucky that we got the 2nd season. So yes, the word has gone out that Strange New Worlds has been renewed for a 5th season. This obviously coming ahead of the release of the 3rd season, which is going to premiere with 2 episodes on July the 17th. Even in the renewal of the 5th season, there's a bit of a sting in the tail as well. It's 6 episodes. So that means that Strange New Worlds, when it completes its run, will be 46 episodes long. That is in fact shorter than the first 2 seasons of Star Trek Enterprise combined. To be honest, it's only 6 episodes longer than Star Trek Prodigy. Now, as you can probably tell from my demeanor, I'm not exactly over the moon about this. Strange New Worlds, once I think it's fair to say it became the flagship show for Star Trek at the moment. And by that I mean, it's not necessarily that it was the best of them all, which is not to say that it wasn't the best. I just mean that all of the attention seemed to shift to Strange New Worlds once things like Picard came to an end, and certainly once Discovery came to an end. Even now, as we look ahead to Starfleet Academy, which of course we don't have a trailer for, we don't know anything really in terms of, you know, how long it will run for yet. It did look as though Strange New Worlds was going to be, if you like, the pillar of Star Trek. The news of its cancellation is a little bit concerning, and I feel it is more directly to do with the current state of uncertainty with Paramount CBS than it is to do with any statement of quality on the show itself. Now, for a quick rundown of what's going on with Paramount and CBS, there is, of course, you know, what seems like for the last 97.6 years, there has been this ongoing merger with Skydance Media. There is so many things up in the air about that. For example, that's in all sort of uncertainty due to ongoing lawsuits with the current administration in the United States as well. So there's been a very protracted process around all of that, which has made everything so uncertain, which is why, you know, sometimes we joke about it, but why you've heard more about, you know, contracts and mergers when we're talking about Star Trek news than I think any of us ever really planned to talk about in the beginning. On the one hand, if I'm choosing to be very positive about this, Strange New Worlds was renewed for a 5th season. That is positive, even as sad as the news coming today is. Whereas many of the shows that are waiting to see what's happening may not be as fortunate. Season 3, as I say, is coming in just a couple of weeks, and Season 4 is currently in production. Season 5 is due to go into production later this year. Now, if that seems like they're rushing through everything, I wouldn't blame you, but on the flip side of that, good in that we're not going to be waiting nearly as long as we were waiting for Season 3 to arrive. We will not have that kind of a gap between Seasons 3 and 4 and between hopefully Seasons 4 and 5. There is no current word on if the 5th season, truncated as it will be, will pull a Game of Thrones, don't panic, and have longer episodes. Now, I say Game of Thrones because it's a little bit hard to not think of the final season of Game of Thrones, which itself was also 6 episodes at the end there. Without going too much into detail, some of you are probably well aware of what happened with Game of Thrones, some maybe less so. The 6th season of Game of Thrones had 3 standard length episodes and 3 extended, close to feature length episodes. Is that something we may be potentially looking at with Strange New Worlds? Will in fact the finale be a movie? We do not know at this stage. All we know is that at least in terms of number of episodes, it's going to match Game of Thrones. There is in fact another Star Trek show that also had a 6-episode final season, and that's Star Trek the Animated Series back from 1973. Its 2nd season was 6 episodes long. Folks, I'm not going to lie to you, this is disappointing news. This is sad news. But I have to be honest, it's not shocking news. Alex Kurtzman in recent years has given interviews where he suggested that 5 seasons is now a pretty good run for a streaming show. And I think a lot of us who grew up with the longer seasons, and obviously the longer overall runs of Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, are all, I suppose in a way, we were gifted with a different era of Star Trek where that was more or less the norm. But then, of course, beginning with Star Trek Enterprise, effectively beginning with the 21st century, and no, Voyager, I haven't forgotten that you crossed over into the 21st century, but beginning with the 21st century, that simply hasn't been the case. I do not know what this says for the future of Star Trek, because even as this news comes today, Starfleet Academy, we still know so little about it. That seems to be locked in for 2 seasons. So at the very least, we have 2 seasons of that to come. And there is also, of course, talk about Tawny Newsom's live action comedy series that was announced at San Diego Comic-Con. There is also that mention of something William Shatner-y. I'm saying it like that because that's about the amount of detail that we have in it, that we got news about there as well. And then going into 2026, I'm not wishing time away, I'm saying this in June of 2025, but going into 2026, it is of course the 60th anniversary of Star Trek overall. Seems like a good year to do some announcements, some new special projects. There's always still Star Trek 4, which is the movie that has been touted for coming up on 10 years now, but it won't die. There is still often updates saying, no, we're still doing this. And of course, the recent-ish news of this Star Trek Origins story as well. I say recent, within the last year, this Star Trek Origins story movie as well. So, as maybe glum as this news is, and I won't lie to you, it is glum, it's maybe not quite the death knell that I'm sure probably by the time this video lands, you've probably seen about 9 videos going, Star Trek is dead! Star Trek is dead! Well, long live Star Trek. It's been dead before. I do think it will weather another show coming to an end. And as I say, we still have 2.5 seasons. No, we have 3 seasons, one of which is truncated, but we have 3 seasons of Strange New Worlds to come. As long as we get the quality that we've been enjoying from the first 2 seasons of Strange New Worlds, I'm not overly worried. I'm a little sad, but I'm not overly worried about what's to come. Now, I do hope that, everyone on the Strange New Worlds team knows how much we have enjoyed everything to date, and I can't wait to dive into season 3 as well. We will of course be bringing you all of the ups and downs for that, beginning on July 17th and then running straight through until the final episode of the season, which is on September the 11th of this year. I will bring you news as and when it comes in. In the meantime, you look after yourself, you beautiful, beautiful people. Make sure that you live long and prosper. And until I see you again, keep an ear out for news and stay hopeful. Thanks very much.